So we have a special guest here, first time on Live Impact News. I'm making her smile right now. we have Spencer Collins, executive producer here at WCNC Charlotte. But we were saying earlier, we were kind of joking, but we're serious. You do all things here at WCNC Charlotte. I mean, you make the newsroom work. Carlene can attest to this.
We wouldn't be here without Spencer.
Yes,
basically.
She doesn't like to get the credit, but right. You deserve the credit, Spencer.
I appreciate it.
So, okay, can I be honest?
Yeah.
So I was talking to Carlene about this. It was kind of hard to approach you and talk to you about this subject. So I'm like, how do I talk about infertility?
Yeah.
I know we work together, not as much now because of the Live Impact Studio, but over the past year we worked together closely on stories and stuff like that. But I was like, how do I ask her about something so personal? And Carlene was like, she's super open about it. And I'm like, I don't know if you noticed me kind of stumbling through the conversation a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like, where did you get to the point where you were open about this?
So I think it was a mix. Like I was decently open with people I was close with, just some of the steps at least. And then once we finally were able to have our son, I became more open just because, like you said, it is so personal. And like, how do you talk to people about it? And when you're going through it, it can be lonely and isolating.
Yeah. And
so I want to now use what I've gone through to help people know that, hey, you're not alone. So that's why I want to be more open with the story and you know, what I've gone through. If it can help one person just feel like, okay, this situation is not fun, but I know that others have gone through it and have gotten a child, like that's what I want to do now.
Can you take me back to the very beginning? At the beginning of your infertility journey?
Yep. Yeah. So my husband and I got married September 2019. We knew we wanted to have kids really early or right away. Waited about 6 months to start trying just to, you know, get through that honeymoon phase. and I had big plans for my 30th birthday, and then COVID hit like the week before, so none of those plans happened. So I was like, well, we can start trying for a baby now. Tried, you know, for about a year, and like you heard Nichelle say, people say between 6 months to a year, you don't get pregnant. Ask your doctor. It's usually if you're under 35, wait 12 months. If you're over 35, wait 6 months. So went to my doctor, did those like blood tests to check hormones. Like she said, just my normal OBGYN. Everything looked totally normal. So they gave me a pill called letrozole. There are a couple different types. Clomid is another one. They basically do the same thing where they try to give you more eggs that you produce for your cycle. So that way you have more chance of an egg getting fertilized. First round didn't work. Second round, I did actually get pregnant and had a miscarriage at like right at 6 weeks. So after that, I was like, you know what? I'm a very impatient person, so even waiting a whole year was hard. But right after I got that miscarriage, I had made an appointment with an IVF clinic here in town in Charlotte. So we went in for the first appointment. That was September of 2021. And the doctor was like, you know, your batting average is not great. You've been trying for about 15 months. You've gotten pregnant once. Like, let's try to figure some other stuff out. They did some more tests. Again, everything looked really good.
How did that feel? How did that feel when you heard that from the doctor?
It's hard because, like, you're like, okay, I know. And my mom got pregnant pretty easily. So everyone's like, you're going to get pregnant easily. And I'm like, that's not like a genetic thing exactly. But then, like, through this whole journey, it was nice to hear like, okay, well, nothing's wrong per se, but then that was hard because you feel like, okay, if something's wrong, there's something to fix. Oh, if your tubes are blocked, we just need to like unblock your tubes. Yeah. But for me, there was nothing like, oh, we can't really find anything to fix. So we were diagnosed with technically unexplained fertility. Farther down the line, as we got when we moved into IVF, we did find a couple things, like I have a blood clotting issue, which really doesn't affect me, but it affects like an embryo. So it could, so they were like, maybe that's why you're losing pregnancies. So we added heparin, and then that was, so I did, let me go back. So we did a couple IUIs, which are artificial insemination, and that's like the first step that a lot of infertility doctors will take if they don't see anything like major. But realistically, it's only a 20% chance of getting pregnant,
Really?
Which is kind of basically the same percentage if you're doing it naturally.
Yeah.
So first one didn't work, second one didn't work, and our second one was right around Christmas 2021. And that one hit me really hard, and I think it's because I was around my cousins who were like 8 years younger, 8 years younger than me, and they were pregnant. So that one hit really, really hard. Again, not patient. They wanted me to do 3 and then move on to IVF. I'm like, you know what? We've done 2. Let's just move on. So did an egg retrieval February of 2022. Responded really well. Got a lot of eggs. In the end, we had 10 healthy or normal embryos, so nothing with a chromosome or abnormalities. So some, because that's why a lot of miscarriages happen from a chromosome or abnormality. So you were that baby, you were never going to carry it to term.
Okay.
So that's why a lot of miscarriages happen, and will happen before someone even knows that they're pregnant.
A lot of light bulbs are going off in my head right now. So this is.
It's so funny.
Yeah,
it's so funny. I talked about like this with people, and anyone I was telling, I was like, you know, you have like sex ed in school and like health or whatever, but until you're really in it and like learning all of these things, I'm like, I didn't know.
It's very
all these
surface
things.
level in
I
school.
would say, because to pull the curtain back here on Live Impact News, Spencer's one of my best friends, so I was like kind of along for the ride. I had so many questions about my own body that I had no idea like how these things work.
Yeah, like I mean, it sounds so silly, but people are like, oh, you can get pregnant any time of the month. No, you have really like a 5-day window that like you're really gonna get pregnant. So like it's crazy to be like, I should have known that as a woman, and I don't think I realized that. And so many people I don't think do realize that.
Especially men. I will say this: we don't realize that at all.
No, like it is so crazy. Like your fertile window is really, really small, and I think that's what it was crazy to me. It was so hard about all of this is like, okay, you wait a month, like. It's not like, oh, I had a bad day, I'll try again tomorrow. Like you have to wait a whole month to like try again, and so it just seems so long. But yeah, so egg retrieval was really good. We went in straight the next month to an embryo transfer. That transfer technically took, so the embryo implanted in me. I was pregnant, but again had an early miscarriage. So that's when the doctors were like, what the heck? Like, what's going on? It was a normal embryo. Like, we don't really see anything wrong with you. And so then that's when they did that recurrent pregnancy loss test, which normally a normal like doctor or OBGYN or infertility, if you have like 3 losses, they'll do it. But because they knew this was a normal embryo, technically implanted, like what's going on. So that's when they found that blood clotting thing. So I added heparin, which was just another shot that I did 2 times a day. Normal blood thinner. People take it for a ton of other reasons.
Yeah.
And then went into another transfer the next month. Lost that one at 8 weeks. And so we're like, oh my gosh.
And where are we on the timeline? Are we
April 2022?
Okay.
Yes. So technically like 2 years after we had started really trying.
And you're a very patient person too.
Well, that's why I said it's so hard, because I can't just get up and try the next day. You got to wait a whole nother month. And so I said, you know what, like, let's take a break. Let's have a fun summer. Like, maybe we're just a little bit stressed. My doctors have said, you know, we're going to do what they call the kitchen sink protocol. It's basically
Okay.
throwing everything
Okay,
at
that's
it.
what I thought it was.
It literally is. That's why they call it that, at least at my clinic. So we said, we'll have a fun summer. Let's do it in the fall. So September 2022 is when we decided to do our third transfer. So I add another shot that I have to do the day of the transfer, as well as like 1 week after. And intralipid infusions every week for 10 weeks. Basically was diverting some of my cells away from like my uterus and embryo, because they were thinking, and it's kind of new science, is like your natural killer cells are looking at an embryo as something foreign and saying, this isn't supposed to be in my body, I should be killing it. So they're thinking it's like a cancer or something, like a sickness.
Oh, man.
I know. So it was like, in a sense, trying to protect me, but I'm like, no, I want this embryo. Like I want this thing. I want it to stay. So these intralipid infusions were helping divert those cells away from that. I also did acupuncture, which people have said works and doesn't work. So I did that for like 10 sessions.
You don't like needles?
No, yes. All of this, I do not like needles. So, I mean, I'm getting...
Oh.
I meant to look up the count, but I mean, probably hundreds of shots to like through everything. And my husband's doing all of them for me because I'm not doing it. Carlene actually did one.
Yeah, I did one.
Yes.
Oh,
when
man.
we had to stay at work, and
It was, I think, election night.
Yep.
So we're here
Yep.
for a really long time.
Yep,
I was like, hey, because I was like, I can do it. And I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it.
I was like, I'll step up.
Carlene,
I'll step up.
Yeah. And here's it. Like, I couldn't even like look at my husband doing them. Like,
It's that bad. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I would have to look. And it's funny because like now it's not as, I still can't look, but I'm not as like
Considering that you've had
freaked out.
hundreds of shots.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So that transfer took. So September 2022. Yep, that transfer work took. Had a very healthy pregnancy, which was great, because I was definitely like, oh gosh, like it took so long for us to get pregnant. Like, what is pregnancy going to be like? Was technically considered high risk just because of being an IVF pregnancy.
Yeah.
But very healthy pregnancy, like those first like weeks 8 to 14, you had a little bit of, nausea. But other than that, like it was really, really smooth sailing. Our son was born June 1st of 2023. So,
oh, man. I was going to say, we got
Yay.
pictures.
We got
Oh, there you go.
pictures. So yeah, almost 2. He's like super healthy.
That's a handsome fella right there.
He is pretty cute.
He's so cute. I always tell her like he should be selling something. Like
Yeah,
you should put this
that's
kid.
a handsome dude
Yeah.
right there. Oh, man.
Yeah, he's a cutie.
Time just moves, too.
Yeah,
like, with
that's what,
kids.
like, he's going to be 2 in just under 6 weeks. And I'm like, how?
Yeah. I mean, I saw my nephew, he's 14, and every time I see him, he grows, he gets taller, and he's 6'1" now at
Oh, wow.
14. But I remember holding them in my arms,
Yeah.
and it goes by fast.
Yeah.
It's like you blink, and then they're teenagers.
I know. Well, and it's funny because people talk about like, oh, you like really don't remember those sleepless nights. And I'm like, oh no, still too, I remember though. Like I maybe like the exact feeling of it, I will remember. But it is funny too, because I think about like, even with IVF and everything I did, I'm like, you know what? The farther I'm away from it, I don't exactly remember everything I did. Like, I'm like, okay, what was that medicine called? Like, what exactly did I do? So like,
so you have to like really,
like I was so in it, and I could tell you everything,
Yeah.
like bang, 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 as I was in it. But I think finally, once I got out of it and had a healthy pregnancy, and now have a set, like my mind has shifted away a little bit from that of like, okay, I don't have to remember
Right.
every little detail anymore and like know everything, because like now my focus is on him.
Right.
What, can you talk about that support? Like, who did you lean on? Like, I know your husband's there, but
Yeah,
like,
my husband for sure. I actually had a friend, former coworker, who was going through it at the same time. And I say all the time, like, had I not had her, I think it would have been a lot harder, because we were going, back and forth, texting every day. So like, so thankful for her. And then there are definitely like Facebook groups. There's a handful that
Nice.
I'm in. Like there's my fertility clinic has one just of like moms and supporters. And I can't remember when I joined it. If I joined, I think I joined before I was pregnant with Benton.
You still talk to some of these women, correct?
And I'm still like pretty active, and that's what I try to do too. Like people will ask questions all the time in the group about like, this is happening, what was it like for you?
Yeah.
Or like specifically with Benton, my HCG levels were rising really slowly, and that's the blood test that shows like, okay, are you pregnant? And it's supposed to rise by a certain amount every 48 hours in the first like couple days, and mine was like at the bottom threshold. So like for 2 weeks I was getting, you know, blood tests every 2 days just to see, and they were like, it's rising, it's low, like this really could go either way. And I was like,
Wow.
oh my gosh, again, like what the heck. And so we went in for that first ultrasound at like, I think it was right at 6 weeks, and like heard a heartbeat, and they were like, it's there, like I guess it's just a slow
man.
like grower. And again was totally fine. But people in that group like will ask like, hey, my test was low, it only raised by this much, like have any of you been through this, what happened? And you know, to be able to say like, hey, that was me, and like it worked out. And granted, unfortunately it doesn't work out for everyone,
Yeah.
but to try to offer like some sort of support and say like, don't freak out. I know it's super like easier said than done, because that was me, but like it can totally work. There's a couple other ones dedicated just to like North and South Carolina. There's
Yeah.
groups, you know, across the country with just women trying to conceive. So Facebook groups are kind of amazing for that. And so that's what I've tried to now, you know, be for other people in my position, other friends. Like I know other women who have gone through it, and they're not really, you know, they don't talk about it to, you know, the world, but knowing that I've gone through it will come to me and talk. So again, because I had my friend at the time going through it, like that's what I know I needed so much. So trying to be, you know, hey, I'm not going through it like again, but hey, I'm, you know, a success story. So I can, you know, be there for you and talk about anything.
I do have a final question I want to ask you, because I'm looking at the pictures as you're talking of, you know, you and your family, Ben, your husband. How has life changed? Like being a parent, being a mom. Like, I mean, I see.
It's changed like so much. I'm in like so many different ways too, and I try, like again, you guys talk about like, oh, I do so much here, and I do still try to, you know, when I'm here do that, but like I'm gonna leave every day at 5 p.m. to go pick him up and be with him for a few hours. You know, at the end of the day, I got to get him from daycare. So like where I used to stay longer, you know, sometimes I'll work from home. I feel like I've gotten a little bit softer.
Carlene, weigh in.
Yeah, you have. I mean, yeah.
I think some of my colleagues may disagree.
Because I met you after. Because I didn't start.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think I've gotten a little bit softer.
You have.
I still think that, you know, in the real world, like we have rules and things we need to abide by. But I think that I have maybe some more empathy and passion, or am compassionate a little bit more. With Benton, like, I mean, there are rules. I'm maybe not as strict. My husband and I always joked about like who's going to be the stricter one, and I didn't really know. It's definitely him.
It's him.
It was
a curveball for all of us, to be honest, because I thought it'd be the opposite way.
You thought Spencer was going to be
Ian's
the enforcer.
loosey-goosey, kind of like chill, laid back, and it's like 180.
I'm surprised hearing that, because I will say this. Because working with Spencer on stories, Seeking Solutions brand, before we did Live Impact News, I would challenge you on certain things, and you would challenge me back. And I enjoyed that about it. So I thought that, you know, Spencer would be the enforcer. Like, all right, boom.
And I think it's hard because I think, like, he's, you know, I mean, he's almost 2, but he's trying to figure out the world too. He doesn't know any better. So I'm trying to like give grace and patience to him. But I can tell you, Sunday night into Monday, he woke up at like 11:30, tried to put him back down to bed, wouldn't go back down to bed, came, it's like, all right, you're coming in bed with us for tonight. And would lay down, pop back up, and I was like, I'm over this. Walked him back into his crib, set him down, and I said, I'm done. Cried for 2 minutes, and then he was back asleep. So, like, I have these moments, but, like, I think, I mean, everyone loves their child. Everyone thinks that their, child is the best. But I think going through all of this, too, just gives you a little bit of extra, love and compassion, and just saying, like, I had to do so much to get you. Like, I am so grateful, like, every day. Like, I can have a hard day, and it's like, oh, he'll do something silly and, like, makes me laugh. Like, he's, just the best. So
it's okay to be softer.
Right.
Yeah, and I've tried to, tell myself that. Yeah,
like, you're not the most, like, emotional person.
No,
I'll say
not
that.
at all.
Like, I always say lovey-dovey. She's not, like, a lovey-dovey person, but she's very compassionate with her friends. Like, you'll be there for me for whatever, but she's not.
Yeah. No,
she's not overly emotional, but you've definitely softened up, and
I relate because I'm not a very lovey-dovey type of person, so like that's something that I'm working on. So I understand, but it's okay to be soft.
Right.
I'm working to be soft.
Yeah, I'm very soft with Benton.
yeah. Which that's all that matters.
Yeah. When I get a little bit more strict, we'll see. I think like when he's in school, I might be the more strict parent, just because I'm like, oh, you need to do your homework, you need to get good grades, you need to do this. I mean, both my husband and I like got good grades and stuff, but I think that's what I'll want, because I was like, okay, whenever this happens, just give me a like healthy, kind, smart, cute kid. So that's what just
he will be.
Yeah,
he will be.
He will be.
Yeah, you're an awesome mom.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh man, this is an incredible interview.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll just say, as my friend, I am so proud of you. Like, I am so proud of you, because it's easier to not say anything.
Yeah.
It's so easy to not say anything and not share your story. It's so much harder to be vulnerable, especially when you're not an emotional person, really, to share your story. How do you think the conversation around infertility is? Like, with the state, is there any improvements that people can make, maybe in society? What?
Yeah.
It's already get heavy in the end.
No, I know, and it's something that I've thought about too, because I definitely think we talk about it more. And again, I don't know if that's because I'm in that space now. And I go back to, has social media made it just a little bit more apparent? Is it happening more?
Right.
And I think it's a mixture of both.
Okay.
And one thing too is, we talked about 1 in 6 people. Infertility does not just affect women.
Sure.
Realistically, it's about 30% issues with women, 30% issues with men, 30% we don't really know what isn't working. But again, not everyone's ready to share their story. Because think about too, like, people will say, hey, we're trying for a kid. But they don't tell you, like, oh, we went home and tried tonight.
Yeah.
Like, when you're doing it naturally, like, those aren't part of, like, you don't have those conversations with people. And sometimes you don't even tell anyone that you're trying for a kid, just because so many people ask you questions. So that's what I was saying. Never ask a woman if they're having children, if they're having more children. Just don't, because you don't know what's going on with them.
Right.
I think more and more companies are starting to give fertility insurance, which is huge. Again, I would not have been able to do any of this if our company did not have fertility insurance. Still to meet my deductible and stuff, but this is tens of thousands of dollars depending on how much. I mean, I got very lucky and only had to do 1 egg retrieval.
Right.
But that cost us like $13,000. So granted, I had insurance that paid for some of it. But so again, they use this week to talk about, like, how do we, recognize that this is not just like something people choose. It is, an issue, a disease or whatever. How do we help cover that? And then maybe people are more willing to talk about it. But it's so personal, and it makes you feel like something is wrong with you. Like, I've always wanted to be a mom. And so it was like, well, why can't I be? Like, what is happening? And even my husband, I felt like he was really reluctant, I think, to start down with our fertility clinic, just because I think even men think like, well, why can't I get my wife pregnant? Like,
it's an ego thing.
It is 100% an ego thing. And so trying to get out of that mind space, and again, like they said, 1 in 6 people, it really, unfortunately, is not all that uncommon.
Right.
Like that, you know.
There's more and more people in our lives, of my friends, and that are going through it than I feel like our moms did.
100%. And that's, again, what I'm trying to figure out.
Maybe they just didn't talk about it.
Yeah, and that's what I don't know. Like I said, I think it's a mix of both. Like, I think maybe more people are being diagnosed with it, which could be for so many reasons. Who knows? And then there is social media, so it's more out there. It was, again, really taboo to talk about it. I think more and more people are trying to be open. You see more women just in, like, celebrities talking about it. Any parent out there, well, it's funny because we don't really watch Miss Rachel. She's a huge, like, person in the parenting world that shows songs. She just came out a couple weeks ago talking about, like, hey, I couldn't carry a child, so we had a surrogate. So, like, it's just, I think, being able for celebrities and other people to talk about it too, to make other people feel like they can talk about it and, you know, not be so alone. But again, you have to want to be able to. And like I said, I was talking about it with friends when I was first going through it, but I wasn't ready to tell the full story until, like, we have a baby. Like, we're good. Yeah. Like, that's when, because my whole mindset was like, okay, I have to do IVF. Okay, now I have to keep this healthy pregnancy. Now on the other side of it, I'm like, okay, now I can be more of, like, voice, advocate, whatever. If I had millions of dollars, I would give money to families and stuff and help them on this
But
path.
this is just as powerful as giving the millions of dollars. I mean, you're giving, I mean, you're sharing your story. People can relate to that. And, you know, what, so you talk about your husband, and I just thought about this. Like, what did he do? Like, what's the advice for men? You know,
be supportive, and do the testing that they need, you know, you to do as well. And again, if it's an issue with a man, like, don't feel bad about it. My husband did, like I said, every single shot of mine except for the one Carlene gave me. So, like, we were such a team. It's so weird because I talk about, like, you know, everyone, like, this can tear families apart for sure. I think my husband and I were really close and really strong, just going through all of it. We had a couple, you know, times where it's hard. I think after that first IVF loss, I took it really hard because I was like, it's going to work. Like, why wouldn't it work? I know it's a normal embryo. Like, it should be good. Like, they don't really know anything wrong. And then when we lost it, I was like, what? Like, how is this happening? Like, you know, it's such a higher chance. They put it right into your uterus. Like, what is going on? And so, like, I remember being really emotional there. And again, neither of us are emotional people. So I think when one of us becomes emotional, it's like, oh gosh, like, what is happening? But that's really, like, and again, right when we started the fertility stuff, he kind of had some hesitation. So there was some conversations there, but just trying to be open and have a conversation and, like, and be intentional about when you're having those conversations too. Because don't just, like, spring it when one of you has 5 minutes before you walk out the door. It definitely is like, okay, sit down and have dinner conversation or after dinner or wherever you guys do your best, like, conversating, not in public. But yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. You got anything, Carlene?
I if there's somebody out there, like, what if just speaking, like, directly to them, like, that's going through this and is going through the upheaval, like, what do you want to tell them?
It's not fun. Be an advocate for yourself. That is one thing that, you know, being in all these Facebook groups has taught me too. Looking and reading through other people's stories and be like, hey, I feel like this is kind of happening to me. Like, maybe I can ask my doctor about this. Because I find some doctors, just in any field of life, they're the experts, so they'll tell you, and you're like, I don't really know what this means. And I don't really know what questions to ask yet. So I'll go home, sit, do a little research, and then I have all those questions. So like if you can come prepared with just questions and ask, do that. And no, again, unfortunately, like this journey doesn't end happily for a lot of people, or it is not financially doable.
Yeah.
But if you can stick through it, if it is capable, and again, there are a ton of places that do IVF grants, or again, look into places that offer fertility coverage. I know a ton of people in these Facebook groups who are like, I got a part-time job, and even part-time, they could, like, I think Starbucks, Tractor Supply,
Really?
a handful of
Okay.
companies do offer fertility coverage. So people get a part-time job there just to get fertility coverage.
Oh,
So
wow.
like there
Okay.
are ways to, again, it's still very expensive, so not everyone can do it. But if you can do it and stick it out and brave through all the shots, and again, it could be an easy path. Well, not easy, but it could be quick, and hey, we do an egg retrieval and then transfer, and it totally works the first time. Great. Or it could be a longer path. It could be years. You have to be really strong and be willing to kind of like let that be your sole focus sometimes, unfortunately. Like I
Okay.
knew those months of February when I was doing my egg retrieval, I was like, I'm not doing anything else in my life. Like this is what I need to be focused
Okay.
on. So doing that, and hopefully you get a cute kid.
Yeah.
Like Ben.
Yeah.
The cutest. The cutest. Oh, because
Let's show him again.
yeah,
Look
there
at
you go.
him.
I keep seeing the, I'm seeing the pictures.
He
And,
loves
yeah.
the beach. He
Oh,
loves the beach.
does he love the camera?
Yes.
Because he's like
He
posing.
knows cheese.
Yeah.
I've got pictures of him on my phone. He knows
Yeah,
cheese.
and now he does cheese. He like starts to lean into the camera.
man.
So, and he loves to look at pictures of himself.
Oh,
videos of himself. I'm
is he like swiping through your
oh,
phone?
little vein, are we? A little vein.
Little ham.
Yeah.
You got a little model on your hands.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know. Yeah.
Oh man, that is a beautiful family right there. Spencer, thank you for stopping in and sharing your story.
Of course.
I was a little, I didn't know how to approach it, but having this conversation, I learned so much. I don't know if you saw the light bulbs flickering in my head, my bald head, but it was going off because I'm like, wow, I did not know.
No, and that's what I'm saying. I didn't know any of this stuff either before I went down this path. And again, even the most simple things like, oh, you can't get pregnant any day of the month.
Yeah.
Wow, who knew?
Yeah, right.
I should have known. Maybe they taught me that in health class, but I was in 8th grade and I
Yeah.
wasn't like paying attention to that. Like,
No.
But it's very surface level though. Like, it's
like
very,
that's not what I'm
yeah.
thinking about in 8th grade.
No.
So, yeah.
No. I was
No.
thinking of ways to get to the vending machine. So no, I remember specifically that in health in my sex ed classes. Like, how do I get flaming hot Cheetos?
Yeah.
I just remember everybody was kind of like, oh, this is very
Yeah,
uncomfortable.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
uncomfortable.
whatever.
I'm sure it's
Yeah.
uncomfortable for the teacher too, but
And she's, obviously older. We're
Yes.
teenagers. She's mature
Exactly.
about the conversation. We're immature about the
Yes.
conversation at the time because we
Yes.
just don't know anything. Our brains haven't evolved yet.
yeah. So I don't know when a better time to teach that is.
Yeah, but having the conversations like this,
Yeah.
I think
Or help.
help, and they're very helpful. Spencer, thank you for stopping in.
Of course.
Man, I learned so much during this interview. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We call her executive producer, but she is a woman of many talents, does a lot of different things. Again, and you can find this interview. We'll post it on our YouTube page. We're going to rerun it during our 12:30 afternoon live impact news window. So, yeah, great conversation there.